Morning. Well, here we are in the Trinity again. Hi, Alexander. Morning. How are you? Where are you? I'm in Trinity in Burton-on-Trent. Let me just show you around this place. I think you'll like it. There we go. This is the view from my seat. Look, I'm sat here on this bench. And here's my view. What do you think about that? Hey, what do you think about that? Isn't it absolutely beautiful? What a way to start a day. And let's have a look down here, shall we? Look, there's people down there. Only a few minutes ago it was all quiet, actually. And look, what is today's lesson? Well, today's lesson is entangled marketing. It might be entangled communication or entangled relationships. Let's have a little look around here, shall we? Look, up at the top. Those are the windows, look, above my desk. And the hair salon isn't quite open yet. Will be soon, the lights are going on. Wow, hey, what do you think? Isn't it amazing? What a great start to the day, hey? So, what we're going to talk about here this morning. Well, by the way, this where we are now is in Burton-on-Trent. For those of you who don't know Burton-on-Trent, it's a place in the middle of the UK, about as far as you can get away from the sea. And it's home to many breweries, for example. So a lot of the wealth of the area and the reason why churches like this were built came from basically the brewery business. So one of the biggest brewers here was actually, hi Millie, one of the biggest brewers here was Bass Brewers, and Bass Brewers was actually bought by Coors, if I've pronounced that right. I'm never sure how to pronounce that, but Coors, the American brewers, so they actually own now, the biggest breweries facilities here in Burton-on-Trent. And then you've got other breweries here like Marston's Breweries, for example. I love Marston's pedigree. And then there are lots of spin-off industries. Marmite comes from here, love it or hate it. Marmite is made here in Burton-on-Trent. And also this is the home of Branston Pickle. Branston Pickle is another, byproduct of the brewery trade. So yeah, you've got Branston Pickle here, you've got Marmite here, and so it's quite an interesting place. It gets a lot of, Burton-on-Trent gets a lot of flack as being sort of like a boring place, a poor place, an ugly place. But actually, none of those things are true. And as you can see from this building, and this building is just one example, right? There are actually many beautiful things in Burton-on-Trent. In fact, I remember a while ago, there's a friend of mine that I know very well, and he comes from Burton-on-Trent, lives down in London now. And I took some pictures, and he said, that's Burton-on-Trent. And I said, yeah, it is Burton-on-Trent, but why are you saying, And he said, well, it's horrible. I hate Burton-on-Trent. He comes from Burton-on-Trent, by the way. I said, it's horrible. I hate Burton-on-Trent. I said, well, actually, I don't think it is that horrible, Chris. You know who I mean, Chris. So I don't think it is that horrible, actually, Chris. And so I said, I'll prove you wrong. And so I actually then started going around taking pictures of places in Burton-on-Trent. And I sent them to him and posted them on Facebook and that, and he said, "Oh yeah, actually, yeah, those are very nice pictures. Where is that?" And I said, "It's Burton-on-Trent, Chris." And he went, "Oh." So anyway, yeah, you know, I quite like Burton-on-Trent. You know, the other nearest place is Lichfield, and you could say that that's much prettier and its cathedral and everything like that. But you know, Burton-on-Trent has actually a lot of character. So I'm a fan of Burton-on-Trent. Look, there's the lady going up to the hairdressers, I think, you know, so putting all the lights on and that. It's funny, actually, earlier on it was so quiet here. It was so quiet, you know, just sitting here, just in the peace of this converted Methodist church. But now it's all waking up, and soon I'll be able to smell the coffee as well. Actually, obviously I've been, you know, reading this book, Entangled Marketing, as you know, which I'm really enjoying. Entangled Marketing from Sebastian Jesperson, the guy, the CEO at Vertic, and the legendary marketer Stan Rapp, who I actually not spoke to physically, but I actually chatted to on LinkedIn yesterday for the first time. That was really exciting. So I hope to actually speak to him soon. But I was, you know, looking at an article this morning from the New Yorker, and the New Yorker has actually proved to be a place that's thrown up some interesting articles about leaving the EU. For example, as you can see there, the most popular article is why Brexit might not happen at all. And I'll come back to that. You know, what's the next one there? Chris Stevens' family don't blame Hillary Clinton for Benghazi. And then this article that I'm talking about here, Sunderland and the Brexit tragedy. What Brexit means for British food? Who bombed the Istanbul airport? Anyway, I really like the articles here, and this is it's actually written by a British guy, I think, who's writing for the New Yorker. Now, basically, what he says here is that the people in Sunderland in the UK, Tyne and Wear, up in the northeast of England, 60% of them voted to actually leave the EU. So obviously that's a very large, you know, percentage, right? But here's the thing, right? I mean, it's not funny, it's tragic, actually, right? Here's the tragic thing, right? Is that area, Tyne and Wear, was actually getting a huge amount of EU funding, right? You know, what the people in Tyne and Wear were complaining about was basically, you know, that all the shipyards had shut. Well, yes, all the shipyards have shut, but that isn't the fault of the EU, right? The shipyard building and that has gone out to China and Asia and places like that, but that isn't the fault of the EU, right? So you've got this situation there where people in Tyne and Wear, Sunderland, right, are blaming the EU for something that actually isn't the EU's fault, right? And at the same time, the EU is actually funding and trying to help to rebuild the economy in the Tyne and Wear, which guess what? If we leave, right, that will kill all of that funding stone dead. Now, you know, what is the problem here? You know, because it's like with the immigration issue, you know, people are blaming, talking about immigration, you know, as being a factor why they left the EU. But hello, immigration has a net positive effect, a huge net positive effect, right, on the British economy. What's the problem? People don't know that, right? Now, I mean, I don't blame them. Well, I partly blame them, right, because, you know, they need to go and find out the facts, right? But I don't blame them in that it's hard to find out the facts, right? It's actually hard to find out the real situation. And so, And so, when you come to making a decision, like shall we stay in the EU or shall we leave the EU, it's extremely difficult, right? Because you need facts and you need real facts. Yeah, I think that's right, Millie. The media did confuse everybody, and the politicians confused everybody as well. Again, as I say, it's not. I don't blame people on that, for that, because it's difficult to sort out the wheat from the chaff, to sort out truth from lies. It's extremely difficult to sort that out, particularly when you're getting constantly bombarded with it everywhere you go, right? And you can't even think where to get an independent, informed, accurate, information. You can't think where to get that. Where do I get that? Even when, with the power of the internet and that, it's not clear where to go get that information easily, right? So I really, so I think that, one of the things that really has to be done here is there has to be some way of, the government and the EU actually getting more entangled, to bring in the entangled marketing idea, actually getting more entangled, right, and more emotional and connected at a more emotional level with the population, right, and explaining to, for example, I understand, Millie, and at the end of the day, I mean, I know, Millie, some of the things that affected you and that, right? And of course, if you're a believer in independence and, you don't want to be controlled and all of that, then those things come into play, right? Anyway, going forward, what I think needs to happen is there needs to be, some way of us actually getting independent facts, an independent viewpoint, right, on the key issues. Somewhere, maybe that's as, maybe it's as simple as a website or something. But of course, you've got to trust that is an independent source. So that's always going to be difficult, right? So, you'd need that website to be operated by somebody that you actually trusted to be independent. So anyway. The fact is, right, that is really what, that's the lesson, or one of the big lessons, I think, is is communication, between the EU and the disaffected populations. And actually, right, here's something that's actually easy, right? We actually know now, right, which parts of the population voted against or voted for leaving, right? So we know where these people are, right, that we need at least to give the opposite viewpoint. I mean, at the end of the day, they'll make the decision, but at least if they've been informed of the facts, right, then they can make the decision having had, the other side, if you like, right, or having had an independent view, right? So at least they can do that. So I think that's one of the lessons right now. I know people don't like me saying this, right? A lot of people don't like me saying this, but actually, of course, it's a fact, right? That what actually happened was a vote, right? It was put to a vote whether we should leave the EU or not leave the EU, right? And of course, the vote was that we leave the EU. But of course, as we know, that in fact, different parts of the country voted different ways. So Sunderland and the East Coast and that might have voted to leave, but Scotland voted to stay, and so did London. And so, there was this polarisation, if you like, across the UK, right? But here's the thing, right, that actually, right, that was a vote, right? It wasn't illegal. It's not something legal, right? It doesn't mean that the government has to actually leave the EU. And there definitely are signs of people, now that they see what's happening, right, post the votes, right, now that they see what's happening post the votes, there are definitely people saying, hang on, if I'd have known that, when I voted, I wouldn't have voted that way, right? Well, guess what? Don't panic, right? Because actually, even though we voted, right, that doesn't necessarily mean we have to leave the EU. And there are a lot of indications to say that we probably won't actually leave the EU the way that we're going, right? So, because somebody's got to trigger Article 50, right? And even when they trigger Article 50, we won't be leaving for a minimum of 2 years, right? So, if you're thinking now, well, actually, you've gone back on that, Boris, or you've gone back on that, Farage, or whatever it is, right? So now I know that actually you were lying, right, when I made my vote. Well, it's up to you now to make your voice heard, to say, actually, I've changed my mind, if that's what you've done. I'm not saying you should change your mind. I'm just saying that if you've changed your mind because of a number of these factors, right, then say so, right? Which is why I basically have started the hashtag No Leave campaign, set up a page, if you like, around that, and I'm trying to actually put, balanced views on my Facebook and here on Periscope and that. So anyway, that's really all I've got to say for this morning. I'm going to go and get my coffee here now. I've got a busy day here, and you'll probably see me again later on with some of our friends from the Branding Initiative. So I'll just, there we go, just give you the view here again. See you, Millie. Talk to you later. Thanks for your time, everybody. Bye for now.